Hello everyone, I am OSW-Sim-Sports and I just want to have a quick chat about Le Mans Ultimate V1.0 release. As it is officially out now with the full release, you can buy it on Steam or all of the major platforms. I just want to have a chat or critique, whatever you want to call it, about the game after its 2 weeks, I think, after release now. And yeah, let me just say in advance, I really love this game. Something about the driving in this game is, I don't know, it's just really good. You can see very clearly the development team has put a lot of effort into getting the physics, the driving physics, into a state where they are enjoyable. I know in the patch before full release, they had some issues with the tire model being, I don't know, too peaky, which was causing a lot of people, even experienced sim racers. It also happened a lot to me to just 180 and slide out. But for me now, they kind of have struck the perfect balance of being very enjoyable to drive, being able to push, being able to fight with other people, and the game will punish you when you make a mistake, like having a massive slide or whatever, but your race will generally not be over, right? So I don't know, for me the driving has struck a perfect balance between difficulty, enjoyment, immersion, fun, basically. As we have a nice move, we get a slide on, and this is a perfect example of what I mean. I touched the grass a little bit, which gave my rear right tire no grip. It made me slide out a little bit, but I was able to catch the slide and continue racing. And in many other sims, I don't know if that would have been that easy. Now, of course, your tire temps will go up. Even in this game, it's not just iRacing. But I would say it's very acceptable. You know, you can just chill for a little bit and the tires will come back. And in my opinion, even in its current state, with it not having ELMS content added yet, it's the most complete modern sports car sim in terms of car content. Now, some people might argue it would be iRacing, ACC, and I could get along with that to a certain degree, but in the way this is like a complete package, which is everything seems to be quite fairly popped. Everything seems to drive quite nicely. At races like this, look at how diverse the field is and compare that to this week's Indianapolis GT3 racing on iRacing, which is Acura's basically. So in that regard, I think they have done a really good job. Also, like how easy it is to jump online, get into a race which is fairly balanced, which is competitive, it's online, just like this race, and you can see like people are aggressive, stuff is happening basically everywhere along the way, but the races are still fun, and if you keep your cool, you will be very able to just drive through. Now, another very smart thing which they did, at least in my opinion, is to focus quite a lot of the online racing on just having fixed setups. And while the system is not perfect currently, as you cannot save your fixed setup, and you might be like, wow, it's a fixed setup, so why would you want to save it? Well, because you can still change TC, you can still change brake balance, you can change the steering ratio. There's still quite a lot of stuff that you can actually change that makes a very big difference, especially in a fixed race, because the setups are equal. So the stuff that you can change becomes way more important, right? But I still think that it is a really smart move to just focus on the fixed setup online racing, mostly, just especially for the beginning classes, as it's just not fun to be spammed by all these setup shops and whatever the fuck. They just want to sell you stuff, right? Subscriptions, content, whatever. That's not fun. A new player just wants to be able to dive into a race, go online, and be somewhat competitive. In that regard, they really nailed it. And to kind of summarize the positive points I have to say about Le Mans Ultimate is that they have a very, very strong foundation with a very good core gameplay mechanics. Right, so the cycle of the game is actually enjoyable. It's very addictive also. Like, oh, let's do one more race. Oh, let's just practice a little bit more for this track because, like, next week there will be WAC online or whatever. With the special events, I think they did a good job. Like, they kind of copied the appeal of iRacing and moved that into Le Mans Ultimate. And even the fact that you can access those special events without currently, at least, paying for a subscription or whatever is really, really great. Now, with all that praise also comes some critiques, because one of the major issues I see with the game is that the new player experience, so from the perspective of someone who is like new to sim racing, coming from Gran Turismo, maybe playing some keyboard games, controller games, and now finally making the dive into like actually going sim racing, the experience is terrible. Now, I've been racing for a long time, many titles, so I know my way around. But I would imagine, like, if you are new to racing online, especially, nothing is explained to you. You can only basically just dive right in and see how you do. And the only thing you will do in those first few races is do badly, because nobody explained you how the systems work, how the start procedure works, when you will get a drive-through, where the pit entry starts, etc., etc. And of course, the sim racing aliens, elitists, whatever, the tryhards will now all be in the comments like, yeah, you should have went into a practice session beforehand to practice this and that, whatever. But when you are new to sim racing, this stuff is not obvious. And as long as nobody tells you all of this stuff, you will have a horrible time in the beginning, figuring all this of this stuff out. And as a result, the game truly has a terrible onboarding process. For example, there are no real driving tutorials, and while many sims get this wrong, one of the sims that, well, Simcade, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, games that gets it right is Gran Turismo, with their license system where you actually learn driving fundamentals, but you also learn the systems of the game, the physics of the game, like before even diving in. And that is in single player, where you cannot ruin anybody's races, right? You can only ruin the AI and whatever. That's all fine. But here in Le Mans Ultimate, like, the thing a lot of people seem to be doing is they buy the game, they configure their controls, they practice for like 2 minutes, and then they're like, okay, let's go online, while not really knowing anything about the rules or whatever of online racing. And it's not their fault. It literally was not explained to them. So how can the community expect people to know what to do on the blue flags, how to do a decent start procedure, how to not bin it at the first corner with cold tires, etc., etc. Like, this stuff is not explained, while it is essential for the enjoyment of the game. And not just for the enjoyment of the game, of the player playing the game, but also for the players playing with that said player, right? Because if there is like a massive noob in the lobby, he can take everybody out. In the first corner, everyone will have damage raised on, right? It's not done, but it will be ruined, or at least, I don't know, tainted for a lot of people. And even like core game mechanics, like virtual energy, how the fuel system works in this game, how to do a pit stop, how the ABS works, how TC works. For example, TC doesn't even have a tooltip in the setup window. Like, okay, you just expect everybody to kind of know what it is, how it works, how to tune it, whatever. You just expect that. Like, I don't know, that's just very strange to me. Also stuff like brake balance has tooltips, but it's all just so minimal and very basic, to the point where it's not actually useful. And also for the player that actually wants to take the safe route and have some practice beforehand, make sure everything is set up correctly, etc., etc. There is not even a button on the main menu to just fire up a private practice session. You legit have to go into Race Weekend, go menu diving to set the session to private. You have to extend the session. You have to make sure you got no damage on, no tire wear on, no fuel on, etc., etc. Just to like have a session in where you can just drive, right? None of the realism bullshit, none of the things that make it difficult, none of the flag rules, just driving on the track. Because like that's the most important thing, right? And it is exactly this I'm gonna dive right in mentality that the game forces you to take, that leads people to become very frustrated online on places like Reddit, Discord, etc. Being toxic in chat, saying like, oh, I'm gonna report you, fuck you, you idiot, etc., etc. You've seen it all. While in my opinion, the game currently is basically set up to achieve exactly this. So as long as they don't provide more information, more tools to actually practice, to get set up, this will kind of become the norm, I feel. And with that being said, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think there should be a higher barrier to entry for online racing. Now, the developers will most likely be against this because they want their new customers to have the best experience possible. And while these type of players ruin the experience for others, they will instantly say, oh, you just report them, report the incident, we will look at it. While in reality, it's a very small studio. They review most of these reports manually. So if the entire community starts filing reports for very minor stuff like someone outbraking himself at T1, punting someone else off, not saying sorry and continuing the race, well, was that intentional? Probably not. Is it reportable? Yes. Will the devs or at least the staff reviewing the incident do something about it? Maybe. Will it really help the driving standards though? No. It doesn't solve the root issue. So, any argument I see online for, yeah, just report him, rely on the reports. No. You want to have good systems in place to avoid abuse, avoid crazy incidents, avoid ragers in the session itself before they can ruin someone else's races. And I know that sounds like I want to have live stewarding or something like that, but I'm not calling for that at all. I'm just calling for having automated systems that protect players from abuse. And I'm not talking like verbal abuse, like fuck you, whatever. That's normal online these days. I'm talking about those specific drivers that ruin multiple races for multiple people, either out of ignorance or willingly, right? And the game does nothing to protect the player. For example, I have reported an issue to the developers where if you punch somebody into the pit entry, the guy who you punt gets a drive-through for speeding in the pit entry. Now, when I reported this, they really didn't take it seriously at all. Like, they just kind of shrugged it off in the Discord. While I was like, how do you not see how ripe this is for abuse? If I don't like a pass someone made on me, he made an aggressive pass, he got passed, maybe I got a little bit of bumper damage or whatever. I decide to follow him. I see him go into the pit lane. What do? I follow him. I punt him over the pit entry, knowing that he will get the drive-through. Right? That is the kind of stuff that this system enables. And by enabling it and not actively closing the gap, not actively doing something about it, you are kind of making it acceptable, basically. And just relying on the report system, again, is not enough, because for the person this happened to, the race is already ruined. Which leads me to call for a secondary license or permit system. Now, players who have played LFM, Low Fuel Motorsport, for ACC or any other sim before will probably be familiar with this. You just drive 7 or 5 or whatever set amount of laps on a specific track within 107% of a top qualifying time, and if you are able to do so without any incident, you then have to accept the rules and a permit will be granted. Now, for some players this challenge is actually quite difficult because they struggle with consistency. And my argument would be that it is good actually to filter exactly those drivers out of the online system until they are able to drive more consistently. Because if you cannot drive 5 laps, for example, consistently on the track solo without going off, without having issues, you will cause issues and incidents for other players, even unwillingly, right? Even unintentionally. So having this barrier to entry in place will not only encourage people to first read the rules, secondary learn a little bit about the game and get a little bit more consistent, get a feel for the game before they dive into online racing. It also enables the developers and the staff who are handling reports of incidents, etc., to revoke the license of these players. And not in a way where it is like a permaban or something. No, you just have to regain your license. Just having this little barrier, this little annoyance will make people think twice about, doing all of the stupid purposefully known stuff. Like ramming somebody out because he made a move on you. Giving somebody a penalty on accident. Like the really annoying reportable stuff. And the last issue I want to touch on before I wrap up this video is the immersion and the presentation of the game. And as I said before, like the base game is really, really good, but I do think the game itself lacks atmosphere and spectacle. So while the graphics are really good, the sound is good, it is missing those hair standing up moments that really make it a special experience. The things that I felt as a young boy watching Gran Turismo 3 opening intro sequences. For example, for a WEC game, I think it does lack quite a bit of authentic elements that the WEC has. For example, like at every race, they play the Richard Strauss song when the race starts, but this element is not included in the game. One of the main characters over the years at the WEC presentation crew has become Anthony Davidson with his technical explanations, with his explanations of driver fundamentals, how car physics behave, etc., are just not there. Like, how great would it be to have Anthony Davidson explain and give tutorials to you in the game? Also, while they do actually have Eduardo Freitas calling you to the grid, they don't have Martin Haven or Heinderhoff actually saying go, 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 or whatever. You know, like the minor stuff that actually immerses you in a race. And while I 100% recognize that for some people, especially like the tryhard aliens, this stuff is not only not important, it might actually be annoying. For the larger audiences, for people who are, for example, into FIFA, those type of games, like it is exactly this type of atmospheric immersion that makes the game exciting for them, and that adds the value. So I think in that regard, Le Mans Ultimate is very much missing the mark. Also, in the way they present stuff to you during the races, after the races. For example, going up from bronze to silver driver rating should be a celebratory experience. There should be at least like a simple animation with a simple song playing like in Gran Turismo. But instead you get nothing. Like, there's nothing congratulating you. You only see like, oh, your rating has changed, that's it. You know, after driving like for 1 hour or maybe 2 hours, maybe you even done like a full endurance race, you kind of hope for a little bit more. And I'm not pleading for having any unlocks or whatever. Like, just present it in a way where like the result is actually exciting instead of just like a data sheet.